Hello everyone, my name is Aurelia Albright, and in this video I'll be showing you guys one of my favorite ways to make a starter house in Terraria. So the first thing you're going to want to do is look around your world and explore until you find a living wood tree, and you'll know when you find one because you'll see a little room with a chest inside the tree, like right here. Don't be afraid or worried if your world only has one living wood tree. My world just happened to have 3, but usually when I do this sort of build in the beginning stages of a Terraria playthrough, there's only one. I just got lucky and there happened to be a few right next to each other. So it's no big deal if your world only has 1 or if it has 2 or 3. You can still do the build that I'm doing here. To be able to do this build, you'll want to gather a few things that are easy to obtain during the early game. The first thing I recommend you do is gather 15 iron or lead and 13 wood of any kind. This will allow you to make an anvil at a workbench, then a hammer if you don't already have one. We don't start with a hammer when we first start in Terraria, and hammers are very useful in building, so that's why I recommend doing that. Trust me, you don't want to be mid-build and accidentally put wall over something or outside of the wall and not have a hammer to get rid of it. I'm going to show and list the other things I'm using on the screen now. Alright, now that you have everything, let's build together. So the first thing that I do before I start building anything is I explore how deep the tree is, and usually we'll go down to the first room like I'm doing here, and then I plan in my mind how big the rooms will be and how far I want to go to start, because the great thing about doing this sort of build with living wood trees is you can go as far down as you want as long as the tree keeps going, if that makes sense. And you can even use the living wood wand and living leaf wand to add to the tree as you go down and make it bigger or deeper, so there's a lot of potential for making rooms for NPCs. So that's why I really wanted to share this idea with you guys. It's really simple and beginner friendly. Once I've explored the tree and decided where I want the first room to start, I use my drill containment unit to dig out a shape, and I just do a rough shape because it's supposed to be a tree, so I still want it to feel natural and kind of like, oh, it was already like this and I'm just working with nature. Obviously, if you're just beginning, you probably won't have a drill containment unit because it's a late game item, but I'm still going to use it in my video just so it kind of speeds things along. But you can totally still do this even without one. It might just take you a little bit longer to dig out the shape that you want. So then what you'll do after you dig out your shape is you'll go to the room in the tree that's already there, and there should be a living wood wand and a living leaf wand inside of the chest in the room. Once you've found both of the wands, go back to the first shape that you made and just outline it with the living wood wand. Just so you're aware, you will need wood from cutting down trees to be able to use both the living wood wand and the living leaf wand. So try to harvest as much wood as you can before you start doing this. Before we get too far into this build, I want to mention that when building underground like we are here, you'll have to use your hammer at the top of the tree's naturally occurring wall and hammer it away to where your first room is, and use whichever wall you've decided on. The reason I do this is because NPCs won't move in if the wall is broken, and doing this kind of ensures that that won't happen. Once you've done this and connected the wall and filled it in, you can just keep connecting to the wall you've already placed, so you won't have to worry about hammering from the top down over and over again. You can just connect it through the wood or like the layers of blocks into the next room. The next thing that I do is make a simple staircase design. I try my best to stick to a spiral staircase kind of look, but the trunk going down, like the living tree trunk, it's kind of small, so just do the best you can, and as long as it looks good for you, that's all that really matters when it comes down to it. In this build, I'm using the living, I think it's probably called the living wood platform, which I'm sure you can make at the living loom with just regular wood. As you can probably tell, I go through a lot of trial and error whenever I'm doing a build. I really just try my best and do whatever looks appealing while I'm building. And I feel like that's the best way to go about building in Terraria, as well as trial and error. And something else that really helps me is revisiting my build on different days. Like if I start this build today, I'm probably going to go back and look at it tomorrow and see if anything else pops into my head for things that I might want to add, or as I'm playing through the game, I'll change things as I gain new materials and new items and things like that. And it always makes for a really interesting build whenever I'm consistently working on one build from start to end game. I ended up deciding to use the first room as a place to have a few beginner crafting stations. I added a simple bookshelf that I made using wooden beam, wooden platforms, wooden walls, planked walls, and stone platform. I placed a book and a bottle on the bookshelf as well, and I added some finishing touches to the windows. If you wanted to remake those, I just used, I believe, the planked wall, and then I put wooden platform on top of the planked wall, and then stone platform on the top of the window. For the second room, I thought it would be cool if I divided it into a few different spaces. I kind of made the third and fourth room before the second room. I really like the way that it turns out though. So the two bottom rooms I made for NPCs to move into. NPC housing just requires a table and a chair and a light source. And I think it has to be at least 15 blocks wide. I could be wrong on that though. And then on the top, I made a little storage area, and underneath it, I end up making just a little lounge area for an NPC to move into. In the room, I made the floor using wooden wall and wooden platforms, and I feel like it adds more depth, but I would be cautious if you like the way it looks because you can't place a door on a platform, so just be a little careful with that if you decide to make your floors that way. I tend to do it in open spaces, or I'll do it like how I have it there, where the door is connected to a different block and it kind of flows into the room. I don't know if that makes sense. So then I'm gonna finish the staircase and then add a few more rooms. As I'm finishing the inside of the build, where the NPCs live and stuff, I end up closing off the area underneath the bottom of the very last room that I made, just so it looks more natural and like the tree just sort of ends there. And then I moved to the top where the tree comes out of the ground, and I decorated it using seeds. I think I used wildflower seeds, so they're all random colors, and tall grass seeds can look really nice too. Once you get the dryad, I believe you should be able to buy those from her. And I added some stars in a bottle hanging from the trees, and I tried to make it look like the trees have rooms on the top of them throughout the tops of the trees by putting glass in the wood, and I think that helps to just add a little something to it. That's going to be all for today's video. A few people have messaged me or commented on my builds asking for a tutorial, so I hope this helped. If you have any requests for speed builds or tutorials, let me know in the comment section below, and you can like and subscribe to see more of my future content if you would like that. Thank you so much for watching. Let's build together again soon.